We have to address this junction point where the natural stone wall meets the block wall and the brick caps. I'm adding my special concrete mix.
This morning we're going to pull off the form. We put a bit of pigment in this concrete.
The property owner chose this kind of brick capping because it matches the bricks on her house.
Close the door and leave the light on. The morning light should be coming soon. Kick off your shoes and leave the winter and the pain it brings to you. Lay your head upon my shoulder. Shut off your thoughts and clear your mind.
Before we cement the brick caps on top of our block wall, we have to address this junction point where the natural stone wall meets the block wall and the brick caps. In the previous episode, we specifically built our formwork to leave a space for these bricks next to the natural stone wall. I finish off the stone wall and remove the form before we move on to the brick caps. I'm adding gravel chips to stop the cement from oozing out through the gaps in the stone, as we've done throughout this process. I'm adding my special concrete mix, which contains pigment, a bit of mortar, and the standard concrete Portland cement ratios. I'm agitating the concrete mix in to get a really good bond with these stones on the previous pour, and then we add our other small stones on top to finish off this part of the wall. My goal here is to make a really nice junction point for where these brick caps run into this corner of the wall.
That concludes our natural stone wall, this last little corner. Next week we'll pull off this formwork and we'll be able to see how it's turned out. This morning we're going to pull off the form for this natural stone wall and see how she looks underneath. Of course, we reuse these packers over and over and over again, and eventually they get buried in concrete somewhere. We're going to pull this apart a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. Just take our time so we don't injure ourselves or damage the wall or damage this deck. So we used gravel to fill voids whilst we're putting the concrete in, so too much concrete didn't come out to the front of the wall, and that's all falling out as we go. Yeah, these are my prefabbed retaining wall panels that I use over and over and over again. I don't know how many projects this guy's been used in, but dozens. You can just join them together and pour out concrete or hold up rock like this, and then I'll use them on the next job. That completes revealing our natural stone wall. I'm just going to brush it off, get some of these rocks out. Really tidy up. Little blobs of concrete that came through can just be chipped away. Once the concrete's still kind of soft, it's easy to just chip those out and it looks kind of natural. We put a bit of pigment in this concrete so it doesn't stick out like horrible grey. It's got a sandstone pigment in there to sort of make it blend in. So that completes our natural stone wall tied into this deck. It's looking good.
It's always a bit of a surprise when you pull the form off for this kind of stone wall, because as you're laying the stones, you're doing it somewhat blindly and you're just guessing how the stone wall's going to come out. So you never really know until you pull the form off and take a look. The stone layout looks quite random, but there's actually a lot of strategy and planning involved. All stone and brick walls have a structural engineering principle you have to adhere to make it come out strong and looking good. Part of that formula is to keep an even mixture of large and small stones. With this natural stone wall complete, we can now move on to the brick capping of the hollow block wall. The property owner chose this kind of brick capping because it matches the bricks on her house. Hollow block wall usually needs some kind of capping on the top of it because it doesn't look very attractive unfinished. So in this case, we've chosen these paving bricks that we also used in our ramp and step systems to tie the whole backyard design together. The next step in this project is to attach these pavers to the top of the wall. Part of the logistics of this particular job has been the limited access to the backyard, so we have to bring all the materials in by hand. Our bricks were delivered curbside on a pallet, so I have to get them into the backyard by hand using my barrow. We make the most of having to handle all these bricks by using it as an opportunity for material selection. This particular pallet of bricks was a discontinued pallet, so these bricks have been sitting in the brickyard for a long time. Some of them are dirt stained and chipped with slight damage. So as we move them on site, it creates a good opportunity to sort out the good bricks from the bricks that we'd rather not use. Because of the amount of dirt build-up that these bricks have gotten from sitting in the brickyard for so long, we have to wash and scrub them. This gives us another opportunity to check for damage and to see which bricks we'd like to use on the top of our wall.
I'm coming home, it's been so long, you don't have to meet me halfway. I'm so tired of calling your phone, I wanna see you face to face. We can go anywhere you want, you don't have to see it my way.
To avoid double handling these bricks, and due to the length of our wall, we're making stacks of bricks close to where we're going to be using them. This can avoid a lot of double handling, and every time we move the bricks, there's a risk we can chip them as well.
Chasing fame and fortune on the run, and I ain't never felt this free. You rescue me. And all those Southern Comfort nights, flashing signs and neon lights.
Washing these bricks thoroughly is really important because it's part of how they're going to stick to the wall properly. If they've got dirt or dust on them, the tile adhesive won't stick to them properly. I'm making my small stacks of bricks on top of timbers and pallets to keep them clean. I'm also keeping the good side facing up, so when we get to laying the bricks, we know what side we want to see face up. I'm scoring the top of our block wall with my trowel. This is going to help the tile adhesive adhere the brick to the wall. I'm laying my bricks out without tile adhesive just to see how the pattern's going to lay out along this wall. One of the other issues with these paving bricks is they're not all exactly the same, they vary quite a bit. So it's very hard to calculate how many will lay along a linear metre. So the easiest way is to just stack them out and see how they look. We can either add gaps or shave a brick down, or there's many ways for us to make them fit. Now that we've done our dry layout like this, and one of the reasons we do a dry layout is to see if we have any kind of unresolved issues, like here, this little gap here. And we can fix that with a little slice of this brick, but after talking to my client, we've decided to use a slice of grey block to fill this. So I'm just going to get a measurement, 15 mil, 50 mil, and we'll cut that on my wet saw over here. So now that we know how much we need, what kind of slice we need, we're going to use this block, which I rejected because it had an odd shape on the front of it. Anyway, we're going to slice a little corner off here so we can use it to fill that gap.
to make an adjustment with our saw here to bring the blade down to be able to make this cut. So we'll just do that. Now that we have the saw dropped down into the proper position for making this cut, now that we have a 50mm slice which matches the paver thickness, we can cut our 15mm slice off this and keep this rough edge. So now we have our 15 by 50mm slice to fill that gap. Let's go see how she fits. Yeah, so it should just fit in nicely like this. Might do a little bit of a cut out of this block.
We'll cement this in later whilst we're cementing the bricks down. I get back to continuing the dry layout for this wall to see if we run into any other issues. We're laying out these pavers with a slight overhang on either side because they're 220mm pavers and our wall is 190. Here you can see the strategy of having little piles of bricks spread throughout the wall system so I don't have to walk too far to get the next brick to lay.
All those Southern Company nights, flashing signs and neon lights. Couldn't know me like you do, God, I miss you. I'm coming home, it's been so long, you don't have to meet me halfway.
This dry layout gives us one more chance to catch any defects in the bricks. Often we can just use the other side of the brick and move on. The other reason for this dry layout is to find out where these bricks fall on the corners. And as we can see here, our brick pattern is falling short. The best way to remedy this is to add small gaps in about 20 or 30 bricks leading up to this corner. By averaging that large gap into small gaps between all these bricks, it won't be detectable when we're finished, and the end brick can line up properly on the corner. Now that I'm happy where the end brick sits on this corner, I'm just going back through this entire row and averaging all the gaps to keep it really even. I check the layout on this short end of the wall and find the same issue. This time I'm taking a measurement of how far off these bricks are so we can do a bit of a calculation of how big the gap should be in between the bricks. Because the wall's so short, it's a bit harder to hide the gaps here, so we go back and forth a few times until we get a really nice even spread of our gap. So the layout for the end of this wall doesn't quite match up with our wall length. So my client wants me to use these tiles. These tiles are left over from the construction of the house. So the client wants to sort of resolve this little end by trimming these down and placing them here. So I'm going to cut these at 50mm. They should fit in this little corner piece. And these tiles are used throughout the sills on the house, and these bricks, these pavers were supposed to match the bricks for the house, so it makes sense on a design level, and they should just tuck in there.
I'm coming home, I'm coming home.
After cutting them to size on the wet saw, I take them back and check them to see if they fit properly. I'll cement these in as we cement the bricks in later. The last thing I need to do before we glue these bricks in is to cut a notch in the blocks so this patch piece fits in a bit more snugly. This concludes all the preparation necessary for us to glue these bricks down. So join me on the next episode as we go through that process. I'll be cementing the bricks to the top of this wall.
Trace the curves and feel your skin. Two lonely souls just wandering.
and also completing the ramp that goes around the corner of our wall. Thanks for joining me this week in my YouTube channel. Check the link below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe button or make a comment so I can help you with your future construction solutions. And don't forget to follow our channel for more ideas and how-to tips for home and garden projects.